You know, we used to have two names. The one we use for business and the house one. When you come to the house, my name is Kofi Akwa. But then my business name is Jacob Buabin Quansah. I was born in Apam here in the year 1921. 9th December. Our house was just near the hill. We called the place Mochung. Yes, and in those days we used to joke with the area, so we called Mochung Freetown, and where the market is was called British. I was in the school when I joined the army. So I had my elementary certificate even when I was in the college at Aswansi. That place was called number 4 WWII, number 4 West African Trade Training School. Then the war has started. In 39-45 war has started. So I told my father that I want to go to the army. They were recruiting youth. I told my father, and he agreed. So I went. But then it was, they were recruiting for us for school. I had my first certificate while I was in the army. Sat the examination at Cape Coast, Philipkaku. And from there, I was attached to the field engineers called Field Squadron, 3rd West African Field Company, at Teshi in Accra. From there, we were sent to, we thought we were just as usual. We were not thinking of any serious thing, not knowing that we are soldiers. And we were sent to Nigeria. There we learned about the jungle war. Stayed at a village called Olokomeji. From there, you reach Abeokuta before you go to Ibadan. At that time, that was the largest town in Nigeria. Yes, it's a very big place. And that's where we had our recreation center. And there they have the schools we have here, Wesley College, and so on. So that is where we go for our recreation. We don't spend nights there. As for the army and their nights, you don't play with it. By 6 o'clock, you go to a parade we call tattoo. That tattoo, they take roll to know that everybody is around. If you are walking, you call it last post. If you have put your step here and stand there, you must not move until it is over, last post. So there was, well, you know, the discipline. I mean, when you go to the army, when you have passed through the army and you don't understand what is discipline, then you are not good for anything. We were in Nigeria for quite a year. That time, Nigerian port was shallow, so you don't get large ships there. So we went to Sierra Leone. There we boarded a very big ship called Virginsford. And it took us almost 4 months to reach India because it was a convoy, so many ships with the aircraft carrier. With the aircraft carrier, it's too big. There you can see about 6 or so planes on it, and they don't run as we have on the ground. They just come up as a mosquito. Then in the evening, all things go down. Myself and another friend, and one friend, Opoku, and Ashanti, we were posted to the European galley. That's why they called it a kitchen. It was a very big ship. We could make sports, run, jump, and do all things. Then there's a cinema hall in that boat. To me, it was pleasant. But what strange thing was that the female employees on the ship don't come out. So when we started, we didn't know that even there were ladies in the ship. Until we bet at Suez Canal or so, then we saw that we have ladies on board. Entering Suez Canal is a beautiful thing. Ending another city, because there were so many, attractive statues there. At the Suez Canal, I think on the engineer who commanded the construction was there. So we saw the world. I even cherish traveling by boat than by plane, because you see the world. The first from Bombay, we were sent to Nasik. From Nasik, we were sent to, nearer to the battlefield was Imphal. So from Imphal, then we started off to deep jungles. You see, we had two fronts. Imphal Tidim Road, that was the Indians and the white. But when we come to Karadan Valley, it was purely for the Africans. And then they were not having engineers. So we had the opportunity of joining them. That campaign, there is no more trouble. From September to January, we were working. And we as engineers, we make the road. But that place was more terrible than when we came to our own people, because the Japanese were even stronger than we are. Finally, we retreated. We were being chased with artillery guns. The artillery guns were being carried by elephants. You see, but you know, in the army, if you are not a top officer, you don't know what goes on. You only obey the last command. That is the order. So when we were going, we didn't know that we were retreating. We have sat somewhere trying to prepare tea, you know. Then an intelligent officer from somewhere appeared and said, "Who are you?" Because we were blacks, and the only blacks in that unit. When we said, "Oh, 3rd West African Field Company," or face-to-face, he said, "Get on the cover." When he said get on the cover, the artillery that we see dropping far off started falling in the middle of the road. That was one of our most terrible scenes. We had to run for 20 good miles. But these Indians, I don't know how to describe it. The officer which came to meet us was sitting on a horse and commanding us, get down on the cover when the artillery starts coming. He was still sitting straight on the horse, whilst he was commanding us to go down when these things were falling in the street and over the street. He did that until we reached a place when their hill was going down and ours was going up, and it ceased. When I woke up the following morning, the whole of my soul, I couldn't walk. So I had to be put in our recovery car. There is one car with us, it was a terrible affair. With the engineers, when you are advancing, we go prepare before infantry can move. When we are retreating, we stay back to do what the action we take, we call it delay action, because we will lay booby traps, mines, and other things that the enemy has engineers like we have. When they also come, they will come and remove them. Before they remove and can move, we are very far away. So we call it delay action, you see. And in our case, when we started that, we didn't know. You know, in the army, only the top people knew understand the movement. Suddenly we asked to put up booby traps, mines, and other things, and we did it. When we were doing it, we saw that those people from the other side, eastern side, were coming down. They were personal. Sometimes somebody come, you see the mess pan, the food in is even rotten. It means they were running. We didn't know. So we lay booby traps and hang certain things in the bushes and so on that will make noise. So after that retreat, we were then sent to Caledon Valley, where we joined our old unit, State First Division. That was also getting to the end of that first campaign. Immediately after the war, after our battle, we returned to India. So we saw the bushy part of Burma, but not a single town. The only place we saw, and even was a battlefield, that where we used to celebrate Mayong Day. So we were there when the war in Europe ended, when ours has not ended, and we celebrated it. People were saying, your war has not ended, European war will end, you are happy. It's not for atomic bomb the war would have. Yes, because the Japanese, they were very strong and very invisible. Look, we did not see them face to face. Only you see, the one you see is one that has been captured. You see, and we have the ambulance around. Both they have. So our casualties, they will not see, and their casualties we will not see. But we have the ambulance who are able to cross by the war regulations with the cross. You can enter the enemy line, and because when there's somebody there, you can treat him. So the ambulance men, they are able to cross. There was one. There's a house here where we have one of them, but it's at Kumasi Ewur. He is. I used to meet him. They can go to the enemy line and come back because they don't hold rifle, but the reverend ministers hold stun gun. We were there with them. So the service used to go on. And they come. Oh, it's a bitter, but sometimes you will laugh, other time you will weep. We came to Madras waiting for a ship, but we stayed there for too long, for almost a year. There was a propaganda that as if we were wild and cannibals or so when we were going. That was the so on our arrival, they feared us. But later on, they found that we were fine. You see? And especially when we have not gone to the field, when you go to cinema, when they say, found out, you get the elders coming around to you, asking you, they thought we were free than they were, because they were not independent when we went there. We came 46, and they had the independence 1948. You see? So they thought we were free here than they were. So they were always, especially when you go to cinema and they say break, you get the elders coming to you, asking you how you live and how you travel and so on, because they have got that field pushed by men. We haven't got that here. They say, how do your elders travel? Oh, the elders, most of them have their own cars. Hey, is that so? So they found us to be even freer than they were, you see. But they were kind. At Madras, I had a family which, they made me feel like home after the war. These Ashantis, their way of living, when you see them with the woman, as if he was at his village, the baby sitting on the lap and so on. It was, they made that in at Madrid, they made a camp at the opposite side of the road, so that those who want to have women as their wives and so on, they did. And the only thing they did, which was splendid, was that doctors were around, so that when you go to your place and the woman is not there, it means a doctor has found fault with her. And so he has been removed. We were protected. So we brought no strange disease from. That is why we came without diseases, because wars usually cause transfer of diseases and so on from other places. We came without it, because the doctors were very, very close to us. And almost every fortnight or so, we call it FFI. A doctor will come and inspect everybody. You will make yourself naked for him to examine every part of you, your palm, so on. So we had, about health, we had very good care about our health. Yes. Anyway, whether I was fortunate or unfortunate, I happened to be in all the campaigns. I went to the army when I was 20 years and came home to celebrate my 25th year. I thank God we were brought home safe. The first one, the 28th February crossroad, that issue, which was the beginning of the fight for independence, it came about when we returned from Burma. We were not getting anything. If you try and got some job, then okay. Other than which, you go and see them. This labor office started with the end of the war when we came. It was Rehabilitation Center, which has now become labor office. So that is why you get our people go there, sit down for a very long time. But if you are professional, it's easy for you to get job, and especially people who were working before they went. When they came, most of them had their jobs back, you see. But those of us who were from school and so on, we had it difficult. But if you have some especially the drivers, the fitters, and so on, if you go to, in those days when you go to a licensing office, most of those people who do the testing were just from the army, from the armies. So they did some, but not much. And with that, that brought about, if you had the Watson Commission, and Kwame Nkrumah came in, that made Kwame Nkrumah popular. Watson Commission came up after the 28 February road, which, not knowing that Kwame Nkrumah and others were involved, you see. So after the riot, these people were arrested. We didn't know. We thought we were doing our thing. We didn't know that there were politicians behind it. So they were arrested. And then this Watson Commission came in. There was something I never had happened to view it, but there was something that they attached very great importance to it. Said Nkrumah brought about a document, or call it the circle. And it was said that if that circle were to be implemented, very few foreigners can stay in Gold Coast in those days. But I never saw a copy of it, so I can't talk about it. It was anyway, it was through that the independence battle started. You see, 28 February road. And there was a terrible boycott. This man, this Osu Nibone, attached himself to it and became boycott him. That made him very popular. That made him very, very popular. It was Akwaje, according to Akwaje, was being made the Secretary General for United Gold Coast Convention or something. And he said he could not do it. But there is a young man over there in England called Kwame Nkrumah who could do it. And it came out that he is an Nzima man. And the biggest businessman, let's say, who had his own ships was Pa Grant. So once he comes from Nzima land and Pa Grant from Nzima land, Pa Grant was asked to go to bring him. So Pa Grant sent one of the ships to go and bring Kwame Nkrumah down. He came 1947 and struck 1948. But he came to Solcom and they formed the junior party, the youth side of the Convention People's Party, UGCC, was the youth branch was the CPP. And they were having they had conference at Solcom. There, Kwame Nkrumah declared that they have left UGCC and they have become a full-fledged party. That's how. So CPP was formed at Solcom. It was formed at Solcom, and all the rest went. Who came back to Nkrumah was Akwaje. The rest, J.B. Dankwa and others fell off. You see, but they say independence step by step, and he said independence now. That was the difference between them. So when he came to Solcom and said, we have formed CPP, so much the junior branch of UGCC. He started the Independence Now. The actual official celebration took place in Accra, but with the regions, especially the lowering of the Union Jack, and I was at Accra. What happened there was so solemn. You see, even people wept when the Union Jack, the way they were bringing it out. People wept. So solemn. But then, immediately it came out, another flag started coming up. And before it came up fully, there was a hell of joy. All the tears have vanished. A hell of joy at we were then at Accra, the Dempsey line. They have some big yard. That's where we go. I mean, it was solemn. It was solemn. Very solemn. Very solemn. So that of Accra, it is later we watched it on the television. When we came, there was some sort of neglect. What we expected to get, most of them didn't. So, this labor offices was first rehabilitation centers for us. So when you go there, you see the people where they get some sort of employment. But the drivers were getting more than the others. I used to say I was lucky. I went to the rehabilitation center. The man there became a chief here, at Champon. And there was an advert there. But they wanted people with the rank of sergeant. I was a sapper, which means private. So I told him, whatever my rank, he should put me in. He said, he put me in. He put me in, and I went, and I was the only one picked for the job. Why? When we were in the jungles and others, I was making a course in bookkeeping. So in the jungles, I always having a candle and a small box. So when we sleep in trenches. We don't sleep out because the Japanese, they shell in the night. They fight in the night. In the day, you don't see them. But in the night, they will shell us up to about 5 o'clock a.m. and finish. You don't see them again. So in my trench, I have a small box, always a piece of candle, and answer questions about this. I did that course, and that gave me my employment with housing. So I opened Efiekuma Estate, 1947, November 6th, before I retired from there, 1970. When I left 1970, I did contract works, building construction, painting, and so on, until I attached myself first to Cocoa Marketing Board, when I was doing the Cocoa Marketing Board for some years. Then I came back and started working for Shell. I was their contractor at Aflao, Atimpoku, and Koforidua. I was maintaining their stands there. That also, I worked with them for about 2 years or so. Lest I forget, I did this in poultry, which became very famous when I was at Takwa. And even this, our late president, was then a small boy, 10 years, and he used to be at my side with the father. Yes. He was about 10 years or so. He was quite a small boy. Now, I was there up to 1963 before I was posted to Accra. Then, my wife was a baker, and so I joined her, and we became a big bakery, which we did until my wife had cerebral malaria, which put her off. And so, for that reason, we came home. And since we came home, I had been going to Shell and so on, do some small contracts, until I also became somewhat weaker. So I invested in this building and settled down. The lesson we've learned is that there should be no war. There should be no war.